Hello and welcome back to Dare and Doing. I'm Will Hester and I'm joined by the brilliant Ben Bowman. Everyone, hope you had a lovely Christmas. Ben, how's Christmas? How you doing?
It was good, thanks, mate. It was really nice. Just switched off, wound down, made some sandwiches, went to the darts.
Yeah, I saw that sandwich.
That was
Quite
did you?
good.
Did you like it? Yeah, I got a lot
I
of I got a lot of backlash last year for the amount of cranberry sauce that I used, so I sort of toned that down a bit this year, and it went down a lot better. A lot of people liked it, and that's the sort of content you're going to get over the Christmas break. Me making sandwiches.
Well, it's better than what happened on Boxing Day, content wise.
Oh god, yeah, that was grim. I made a bad decision that day. I decided to stay in and not go to like my girlfriend's auntie's family Christmas thing. So I was like, I'm going to watch football. I can work. I can watch a Spurs game. Oh, it was a bad idea. Well, it was miserable. I was just sat here on my own on Boxing Day, just watching all the football, which was entertaining, except for Spurs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that was a bad decision. Why did I do it? Why did I
Poor
bother?
decision.
Yeah, poor decision. Poor decision. But other than that, it was good. It was really good. Thanks, mate. How was yours?
Yeah, it was really good, and I'm looking forward to tonight as well. Do you do anything tonight?
Nah, I'm actually not.
No.
I think New Year's Eve. I know you said you're really looking forward to it. I think New Year's Eve is a bit overrated.
I don't like going out for New Year's Eve. I just like it's almost
fair,
like a second Christmas. Like you have your family, or you choose to go around somewhere like and you spend it. It's quite exclusive.
Yeah,
and it's like, and I like that part of it. I hated going out to town.
Yeah, because you're just like you're paying for like and like pubs will charge you to go in, and it's like I go to this pub like every week, and it's like now you're charging me to fucking come in because it's New Year's Eve. It's just like
been there for you since day one as well. You're like a regular.
Yeah, I've been with you since day one.
Who runs that pub? Fucking Daniel Levy.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's Fiver. He's not coming in. No trainers. I think you're right. Like, I like spending New Year's Eve with like mates, or like house parties on New Year's Eve are good, or like seeing like family or whatever. But I don't think I'm really doing anything. There's no football or darts on today either. It's a bit boring.
I'm
been watching the darts.
Nah, I've been watching the darts. I feel like I've been missing out massively. I've seen so much on. Oh no, it's fucking pathetic of me, mate. I'm such a mate, it's so annoying because I can see so many. It's like looking at so many people having fun, and I'm just dwelling in like all the Tottenham sorrows, just like in the corner. Like,
mate, I made the right decision to not go to Spurs. I made the right decision not to go to Spurs against Wolves. I went to darts instead. I was like,
mate, that looked class in your crew outfit, mate. That looks so good.
It was good, wasn't it? It was good, it was good fun.
I got offered a free ticket to go to Wolves, and I said no.
Yeah, I offered you mine as well, didn't I? I was like, because I texted you, I was like, do you want my ticket? And you were like, we've already been offered a free one for that. I was like, I turned that down. I didn't even get rid of it in the end. No, I felt bad asking for any money for it from anybody, because I was like, I don't really want to put anybody through that. And I was like, if I put it on the exchange now, because I had the ticket for the darts for ages, but I was like, oh, you know what? I'll still go Spurs, and I'll just meet my mates there. Like, timing wise, I probably should be able to do it. But then I got to the day before, and I was like, actually, I'd rather just be on my mates all day.
Yeah,
I just would rather do
that.
Looked
like good fun as well. Like, I've seen your photos and stuff of you like going into a Tesco or whatever in your crew outfit.
Oh god, yeah, that was in the CCTV.
Yeah. Oh, CCTV.
I think that was in the train. That was in the train station. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, we went as me and my mates went as I was Gru and they were minions for the darts. We thought we were quite clever with that costume, and then literally the first day the darts was on over Christmas, like before Christmas, I was like spotted about 3 groups of minions. I was like,
serious.
Oh. We saw a couple of other rival minion gangs there. There was some, thankfully as well. I was expecting more Tottenham get battered everywhere they go chance, but there was none. Even though James Maddison and Brennan Johnson were there. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah,
wankers.
I'm going to ask this anyways. Yeah, what did you? Obviously, do people give a shit they went out? I don't. I think it's good. Like, and also they're going out together, which shows like good like rapport. But what do you think about the Madison clapback?
I quite liked it. The use of the word Wally made me laugh. So instant points for that. And also, maybe he could have handled it better, but I think it's like it's one of those things where you probably maybe he shouldn't have risen to it because he knows that that's going to command like a lot of attention, but at the same time, like you have a right to reply, and if you worked a 9 to 5 job and you had a shit day. Say, you drew 2-2 at home to Wolves on your desk job. Yeah. What's the equivalent of that? I don't know. Like maybe not closing a sale when your boss gets a bit annoyed at you, right? And you've got plans in the evening. You're not going to cancel them, are you? You're still going to go because it's going to make you feel better. You're not just going to lock yourself in your room and be. And the thing is, it's like everyone's going to have an opinion on it because you're in the public eye, and nobody would care if like Joe Bloggs did it. If they'd had a shit day at work. Whereas if you're a professional footballer, everything's so like the comment was bollocks, like that he replied to.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
So I quite like the fact that he cut back. Maybe he could have handled it a bit better. The thing is, people will go like, "Oh, he's attacking one of his own fans." It's like, yeah, but I don't really see it like that. I really don't see it like that. I don't really give a shit.
I think if I don't like it. I don't like him clapping back. I think there's like no need, and and also it's like reading the room. I think, but
a little bit, yeah.
I'm so numb at the moment to Spurs that it kind of felt like Lily Phillips in the 100th dick that day. Like you're just not going to feel it, are you? Like it's probably doing a little bit more damage, but the damage has already been done. Do you know what I mean? That's how I feel.
James Madison's Instagram comment was like just throwing a sausage down an alleyway, wasn't it? It was just like it was just nothing. It was just like didn't even touch the side.
Yeah. I didn't. That was it for me. Like I was like, oh, if I weren't so hurt, maybe that would piss me off a little bit. But I don't.
Yeah, it's also just not even remotely close to like the top 10 issues that we've got going on right now, is it?
Oh yeah, no,
it's just not even.
No.
It's not even worth. But also, I think if it wasn't, I think if it was Brennan Johnson that replied to the comment, I think it wouldn't have commanded anywhere near as much attention. I think it would have obviously garnered attention, but I think Madison is quite a divisive character anyway. Even in our fan base, where like a lot of people don't like him, a lot of people love him. I think it was always, and he's got a bit of a mouth, isn't he? He has got a bit of a mouth. He likes to clap back. He likes to open his mouth and say things. So it didn't really surprise me that he did it. Yeah, she's opening her mouth. And,
are you ready to go? Are you ready to go full gammon?
Yeah, let's go full gammon, mate.
You ready to go full Henry Wright?
Levy in, Ange out. Fucking
because obviously
Ange Postecoglou must be sacked tonight. Scrolls up next video. Ange Postecoglou must be sacked tonight. You know that's bad when you've got people like Rory talks football, the Arsenal guy.
Yeah.
Who actually, I will say, I know why people don't like him. He's actually not a bad guy. He tweeted the video.
He's got a lot more tolerable in the last year, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. To be fair, he's quite a decent guy. And
you had a bit of beef with him,
mate. That's how that was my claim to fame. That was how I rose to stardom.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. But when he's tweeting it, and like most Spurs fans are in the comments, just being like, "This guy is a total idiot." Like he doesn't really represent. Like I don't know. It really irritates me that I saw a clip from the Extra Inch, and this is the complete opposite of going full gammon. I'm going like full woke if you want. I'll go woke. I was. Did you see that clip from Nathan Clark where he was talking about the Ange situation on the Extra Inch, and he was basically saying, yeah. I thought that was really good because it was just like, I mean, you're always going to have more sensible conversations like that on a podcast like that, obviously, and Nathan obviously knows what he's talking about when it comes to the football side of things. But it really irritates me, and like you listen to the way that Neville. Did you watch the United game last night? Or see any of the coverage or anything like that?
I was doing a bit of work, but I watched. I just had it in my periphery. Really.
Yeah. And then did you hear or? Oh yeah, I mean that was funny. But did you see like the way that Carragher and Neville were sort of talking about Amorim and like sticking to his principles and stuff like that, and then you hear the way they talk about Ange, and then like the thing is, the problem is with the Ange debate because things are bad at the moment, obviously, and there are big frustrations with the way that the football club is run and the way that Ange manages situations. There's no nuance to any of the conversation, and I think that's what Nathan was trying to get at. Is like, is Postecoglou the manager that can help us bridge that gap to get top 4 on a consistent basis? Potentially, yeah. I still feel like he could be. I still feel like that. If you're talking about going that next step and winning titles and such, like maybe not. But then again, is that realistic with any manager that comes to Tottenham? I don't know. It's the coaching can only take you so far, and I think Ange is a good coach. I think we know that there's an element of in-game management that he lacks. And I think the problem is, one of the only problems I had with what Nathan said was about whether Ange could bridge that gap to get us top 4, even though, obviously he showed that he could do that last season, even though we didn't get it. We were, a fucking flies bollock away from getting there, 2 points or whatever, which is, given how tight the league's become, 2 points is nothing, is it really? But the problem is, because of how tight the league's become, that then makes me does make me have doubts about whether Ange is the man to even get us into the top 4. That isn't necessarily a reflection on the job that he's doing. It's more of a reflection on how good the league has become and how competitive it's become. But then if you're Ange, you have to then there's another gear that you have to go into in terms of your management, I think, to then, okay, right, I've shown that I can nearly get Tottenham top 4. I've shown that I can beat, Aston Villa, Man City, Man United, get a point at the Emirates. I've shown that I can, I've shown that I can get results in big games and put big performances in big games as well. And I've shown my team has a bit of character. But this season is a different kettle of fish. And I don't even think that... it's so hard, right? Because I saw a stat literally just now before we started talking. There's so much spotlight on Spurs, and there's always going to be spotlight on Spurs, especially when you're part of the fan base, and there's always these big conversations that go on. But Chelsea have not won a game in 3. Man United have won 2 in 8. Brighton have not won a game in 7 games. Fulham 2 wins in 8. Bournemouth 1 win in 4. And this guy tweeted, Ange really has to do something about these inconsistencies. No one has ever won a league like this. And it's like, I'm still fighting for Ange, because it's like, we aren't the only ones that are showing inconsistencies. It's just because of some of the things that he said, I think, have made the media perception around him. There's so much focus on spotlight on Tottenham, despite the fact that everyone's so desperate to kick us out the Big Six and all this bollocks. I couldn't give a shit about that. The Big Six is a myth anyway. Look at the league this season. Nottingham Forest is 2nd, right? Man City
aren't even talking about being relegated yesterday.
Exactly. So we're in a relegation battle. Man City aren't even in the top 4. So, it's such a... I think, and obviously we'll go into it a lot more, and we kind of just dove straight into things, but there is so much more. Every game feels like a crisis for Spurs, and it's always felt like that. It has always felt like that.
Yeah,
because
that's true. That's true.
Especially since we've moved to the new stadium, because I think there's this feeling of the fact in the fan base that we feel like we've been shortchanged. We feel like we've not kicked on like we should. And that is definitely true. That is 100% true. We've got in the Champions League once since Pochettino's left, and that's not good enough. And you look at Ange's record for points in a calendar year compared to the last however many managers going back to 2008. The only one that's got a worse record than him is Ramos. And that just shows you the level of the situation that we are in. But also, there is a lot of context to that maybe wasn't there then, and how much you think the Premier League has evolved. And also, this isn't exactly something to shout about and celebrate, but Ange still has 9 more points than what Ramos did. It's it's not that close. It's 9 or 10 points, I think, more in this calendar year than that one. And look, that's not wow, what a trophy. Fucking hell. Everything's going to be fine. Because I don't know if everything is going to be fine. I don't know if we get these players back and all of a sudden nothing improves, or nothing improves, or all of a sudden we go and win 5 games in a row. I don't know. But I just don't. I just think there's far more nuance to the debate. And there's so much detail that's being missed out, I think. And I found that about Tottenham in the whole season, and there's so much lazy stuff that goes around. That's not to say there's a lot to go into, and there's a lot of context, but I think I'm at the stage where I'm just a bit bored of all of it, and I'm bored of Spurs, and I'm bored of, and this isn't any great thing to say on a podcast where we're going to talk about Spurs for the next 45 minutes, and make sure to tune in because it's going to be a good one. But I think we are a bit bored and a bit tired, I think, of it, because it's I don't see how anything necessarily better right now. There's no instant fix to this, whether it's... I think the only way to try and turn things around is get the players back that we know can help deliver results for this team and go and invest in January and give Ange more tools. There's not much else that he can do with the squad that he's got right now. I say that, but of course, there are things that he could find to make us harder to beat, or of course, that's down to the coach. Whether that's setting us up a little bit more solidly, I don't know. There's so much, there's tactical nuance to it as well. There are small details that. The thing is, small details are even more exacerbated when there's such a competitive league, right? The focus on the finer detail becomes even more important when there are teams like Nottingham Forest and Brighton and Bournemouth and Fulham being able to do what they've done, So it's like, but at the same time, as a fan, you kind of just feel like we're going through the motions. You feel like the squad are going through the motions. You feel like the manager's kind of going through the motions because we're being asked the same questions as fans. The manager's being asked the same questions all the time by the media. The players are being asked to go and put in performances week after week, day after day at the moment during this kind of brutal period where we've got half the squad basically not available. It's tough. It is really tough right now. And I've been quite consistent in the fact that I think I've just said how to kind of grin and bear it. I hope we pick up some wins along the way and go again when we've got more players available in terms of trying to make a good fight at the end of the season. But I don't know. It's a difficult place to be in right now. And it's so hard to judge how good or bad Spurs actually are. I think that is still the case. I think there's flaws to the way that Postecoglou wants to play. There's flaws to this team, but there's also some really good bits, really, really good bits that make you feel like that we can get somewhere and get near where we want to be, well, whatever that is, or win a trophy or whatever. But we just have to kind of see how it plays out. Really, it's a mad old season that I don't think any of us sort of really maybe conceive panning out this way. But we're in a. I mean, it's nuts when you look at some of the underlying numbers and stuff like that. We should technically have 6 more points than we do. We should be 8th. Like, I know you can't judge everything off of that because unexpected points, Bournemouth are actually 2nd. But then again, that shows you how bonkers the league is, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Well, I'll sort of say, there's so much that we could cover. I'll sort of just say what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And we sort of turn into like a discourse. Because it's got to that same stage, I think, where where you just feel so numb and you head into every game and you're convinced you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And if you win, it's like almost like, oh my God, we won. And I feel like when it starts feeling like that, the majority of a fan base, there's that inevitability, that sort of terminal feel to it, which is fucking boring. It's so boring because we've been here so many times before.
Yeah.
So I like a month ago, very much Ange in, it's Levy. We cannot sack another manager. We can't. And I don't want him sacked. And I'll get into why. But I've got major, major concerns about Ange right now. But I have got major, major concerns about him right now. Because I know the squad didn't get the backing it needs. And now we're in a weird position in January. We're almost buying a fucking whole other squad. And that's and if we do, but we're getting desperate now because I think the club have been like, oh my God, we really didn't back him enough in the summer. This is where I'll get into this. I don't want to start rambling. I'll get into that in a minute. But the injuries, I am convinced, are down to him in a way. In the relentless nature and how we press from start to finish, and obviously we train how we play. And we haven't got that squad depth, and our injuries are the worst in the Premier League, and players are coming back and then and it's a recurring injuries for so many different players. So it's endless. It's an endless cycle, and you can't tell me that hasn't got anything to do with the way we play, the way we set up, the constant nature, because it's that wear and tear. And I'm actually getting to the point where I'm actually really concerned for the players because it's taken years off their careers. And we've had it before where we've got young players in and it's really promising, like Sessegnon, and injuries have completely deteriorated their career to the point where they've had to leave on a free at the end, and it just hasn't worked out. And where we're so heavily reliant on young players and bleeding them through, if they keep getting injured, that whole sort of recruitment process, that structure goes out the window. because we never ever get to see their potential being like them reaching their potential because injuries keep hindering them.
Yeah.
And I'm putting it on Ange now because it's getting ridiculous, the amount of muscle injuries, and it's a bit of an amalgamation of things. Obviously, we didn't get backed enough at the board, haven't got us like the squad depth we need. The medical staff has always been shit. I mean, think about when it was the All or Nothing documentary. Mourinho was having to go at the medical staff, and the head of the medical department has left. But our injuries have always been a problem, but significantly increased under Ange, and I do think. I mean, it's followed him throughout his whole career, but I feel like the intensity going up in the Premier League, how much wear and tear that has on you anyways, but the pace of it, the endless nature of it, that like paired up with the way we play, constant, it would fucking break David Goggins. I think he'd start having a mental breakdown. Like, do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous now, and the amount of injuries we're getting. It's like you know where we're holding out for February. That's in a perfect world. I don't think people realise that these players will come back and they'll probably get injured again within a couple of games.
There might be other players that get injured before they come back.
Yeah, I know. So I don't think we're ever going to see a fully fit team because it's like a constant theme. So. No. I mean, that is a perfect world. I think we are holding out to it. Also, I think a lot of the way that some of the tactical decisions is just negligence now, and you've got to. We're not picking up points, and he has been backed into a corner because I think if he started being different now, it would be like, whoa, like you've been so consistent, and this is how we're going to play. But sometimes it's like that Carragher thing of like, if it's raining, you put on a coat. I do agree with that because, and I don't think anyone's asking. I think he gets a bit defensive. Like I don't think anyone's asking for him to change the way he plays. It's just tweaks in a game, little adaptations. Like you still have your philosophy, and that is pivotal. And we will, and that in big games that's proven to have worked. And you've mentioned the results before. Some games we've blown teams away, and it's all down to that philosophy. And it can work when it clicks. It can work, but we're so built on such fragile and vulnerable foundations in that if we're having an off day, or if a team catches us off, we're always left stranded, and we're susceptible to conceding so many goals or dropping points, and it's never going to work. I don't think it's going to work. So here's where I stand. I don't actually think that he's the man to go with. I don't want to see another manager get sacked. I don't think he's the man that. I think he was incredible in the fact that we again playing incredible football, but I feel like it's the other end of the spectrum. It's the other end of the scale compared to what we had in the last few years. There isn't that sweet spot that is effective in the league, and I mean every manager, every title. I know it's going to be impossible to try and ever compete for a title under the ownership, but every like title or cup competition that you go far in is built on defenses. It is. You have a really strong defense. We do have a really strong defense, but again, it's like whether or not they're going to keep fit because they don't. And like our defense, like individual, that's what I meant. The individuals, Romero, Van der Ven, they're brilliant. As soon as they get injured, who the hell have we got? Dragusin is shite. I don't want to go too far in, and I don't want to like because he's so young, but he's fucking shit. He's shit.
He's a horrible fit. He's a horrible fit for.
Yeah, he is, and I know. And then obviously you got Archie Gray, and I get that he doesn't want to play Alfie Dorrington. I think it's actually unfair to throw Alfie Dorrington into it because that is his position, and he would be exploited because we're constantly left 1-on-1 with where a team's bypassed our midfield. And I do think that another manager would come in and just sort of make us a little bit more solid. They would get more points, but they'd be heavily limited with the team we have now. They would be, but they would sort of get more points over the course of the season because obviously they're not as gung-ho. But obviously I don't want to take away because we knew that is the way Postecoglou is going to play. Yeah. It's getting tiring going into a game being like, yeah, we'll probably lose this one. Yeah, we'll go for it, but we'll probably lose this one. And then you're seeing us just fall further and further behind. Now, what I do not think I would be fuming if he got sacked anytime soon. Because I cannot I cannot stand having Ryan Mason come in for another year. Like, that would be an absolute shit show. And you're trying to. I feel like if Ange is going to go, we kind of want to be an attractive club for the next manager.
Yeah.
And we saw the struggles every time Ryan Mason's come in, and we've gone through the motions to the end of the season. The getting a manager in is almost impossible. It takes so long because managers are put off the job, and they're looking at Ryan Mason in the touchline again, and then we go and we get our 8th choice, and there's no contingency plan at all.
Yeah,
but also the free managers, the available managers, like the free agents available, that wouldn't be forward planning either. And I think it's too far into a season now to poach managers off of clubs. I think it's too.
Yeah,
that would have been the first few months. I think Amrin was
season anyway.
The last one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Anyway. Yeah, and also again, Amrin showed it. Like if a manager comes in right now, it will have to get worse till it gets better. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we would get a manager bounce because this team has nothing left. This team needs a massive break and it needs reinforcement. So moving on to January.
Yeah.
This is a massive opportunity. And I know we say this every fucking transfer window and I'm fed up with it.
Yeah.
But we need and he does, because he's been left to he's been left to die basically by the board in the way. And the thing I love about Ange Postecoglou is he always takes accountability and he is ambitious. And that's that is their values that we need as a manager, because you're trying to change the foundation, you're trying to change the DNA of the club.
Yeah.
That is but then again, it doesn't come from the top. Like the fish rots from the head.
Yeah.
But Ange Postecoglou, the face of the club, I love that. I do love that. Yeah. I just think he is very naive and tactically flawed when it comes to the Premier League. I've come to that decision because a lot of it's so predictable. We're seeing so many recurring themes that haven't been managed.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where.
But do you think? Maybe this is me being a bit naive of Ange, but do you think? I agree. I do agree with you. I think that there is an element. I think there is a. I have also probably come to the decision that I still think he is a manager that could get us maybe into the Champions League or something like that. But I do think there is before I thought with kind of the young group of players and the way that we wanted to play, I thought there was almost maybe not even a ceiling to kind of this project just from a coaching perspective, because I thought that. And maybe that was naive. I really thought he was the guy. I really was so excited by it. I think there is a ceiling to it, clearly. And I think as a coach, he has limitations. But I'm not willing to... I guess I'm still not willing to give up on it yet until... And the thing is, it's not, like I said earlier, it's not a guarantee that as soon as everyone comes back, it's going to get better. But I have confidence that we will be a bit more stable once Romero, Van de Ven, Vicario, and that come back. And then we can hopefully kick on from the summer and actually learn the lessons from because I do think that trying to play this way with young players and kind of breed that attacking style into them, I think is a really good thing. I also think it sets them up quite well for the next manager, because I think that identity as a club is important. And we lost our way massively after Poch. I really think we did. And there was no forward planning. It was just what happens now. You know, the recruitment told you that in terms of some of the players that we were bringing in, the ages of the players, the profiles of the players. Whereas actually, again, we've spoken about the summer so much, and it comes up every single week, like not just on here, but just generally as a fan base. We know we got it wrong. We know that we didn't buy enough players. But that's why I said I was always happy with the players that were brought in, because you can see what is being built. You can see that. Even though it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. We know it wasn't enough. And that's why we're going to come on and talk about January in a second. We're looking at talking about signing 5 or 6 players. That tells you exactly what you need to know about the club have realised what they did in the summer. But also, those, like you said earlier, those injuries also, that comes down to the manager as well. Of course it does. I still think that in certain instances with like the Romero and Van de Ven thing against Chelsea, I'm not really willing to blame him for that. I'm not going to blame him for that, because I think that any manager would do the same in the same situation when you are that desperate. I think they would. And I think that I do think when you see a doggy go down like he did the other day and you just think, that's another one, that's when you start going, right, come on. Because he has said that he has, players have come out in the past who have worked under him, or there has been instances at Celtic, etc., where they've suffered with muscle injuries and stuff like that. but nothing's ever been like this. But then again, that's kind of like you said, the Prem is a massive step up in intensity. So then that small squad is going to get exposed even more, and young players.
Yeah.
And we have always had injuries before. It's followed us for years. It even happened with Poch to an extent, but I think it happened with Poch, but not so much as Conte Mourinho. Mourinho was nearly shafted as much as Ange has been, really. I think Ange
that moment where he's like, we're fucked.
Yeah, Ange is probably worse. I think it's probably worse, but I'm not willing to give up on this and Ange yet until we get the players back. But then again, it's difficult because it's like we sort of just both said a minute ago, like we could get Romero and Van der Ven back in 2 weeks' time. 2 more players might be out by then, so they're just replacing the players that then got injured.
Yeah,
so it's so hard, and I do think he's got limitations as a coach. I do think that, but I also think there's a lot of good in what he does, and I think that regardless of whether he is the guy or not, I actually think, and I think Nathan said this quite well, there's a lot of good groundwork being done for the next coach. But also, that is down to the club to make that decision, because what's happening now with the young players at the club, Bergvall, Gray, etc. I know Gray's been fucking played every position basically but his own, and I don't give a shit about that. I don't care that he's not played in midfield. I really don't, because he will get that opportunity, and I think he'll be a top player for this club. I really
he's
believe
18
that.
Years old.
He's fantastic. And the fact, I actually think this is going to help him kind of going through what he's going through now. Same as like Sir Lucas Bergvall, more when they get kind of chucked back into this situation. Having this philosophy of wanting to play attacking football, titles are built on defenses, absolutely, but you have to take the handbrake off. Look at Arsenal. Arsenal fans are getting frustrated with an over-reliance on pragmatism. There is a balance to be had. And I think we really had that balance really well under Poch, where we were so hard to beat, but also so hard to stop. And it's rare that you find that. It is rare that you kind of land on that balance because of how competitive the Premier League is now. Not so much back in those days. I say those days, it was only 6-7 years ago or whatever. I think where the quality wasn't there, teams you could just look. How did we ever find ourselves in a position as Spurs fans in 2017 where we were rocking up to White Hart Lane every week thinking we're going to beat this lot 4-0? And it happened every week. In
the Champions League, you were going to Real Madrid came to us, and I was like, we're beating these.
Yeah.
Dortmund, like we blew past them. That was a really good Dortmund team. Like every team that we had, that we faced, for a spell of 2 years, we were like, yeah, we're beating these. No one could score past us, and we overwhelm team in attack.
Yeah.
And we had that sweet spot. I do think that. Go on. Sorry, I cut you off. Go on. You finish.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, do you know what the sad thing, but the thing that still is just in the back of my mind is that, like, maybe not to that level, but I still go into every game thinking that we can win it. And I didn't feel like that under Mourinho. And I'm not saying that, like Newcastle at weekend, I'm really concerned about that. That's not to say that that attitude isn't arrogance. It's not like, it's not just ignoring all of the flaws, because there are flaws there. There really are flaws there. But there's something about this Postecoglou. There is just something about it that still just makes me think that we can beat anyone. I think we can beat anyone, but I don't know. It's tough at the moment. But
the records show, like the stats show, that pretty much the results under Postecoglou is just a flip of a coin. Like we'll win or we won't, heads or tails sort of thing. Like at the beginning of the game, I feel like the first 10 minutes is always like indicative of how the game's going to go. Flip of the coin. Are we going to score? Like, are we going to be up for it? Are we going to concede, or is there going to be a shaky moment? Heads or tails, win or lose. And I think that's the way it is. And it's really actually, it was exhilarating at the beginning. It's really tiring now and like tedious. And I was thinking about Postecoglou. If you did have Man City's team, Liverpool's team, Arsenal's team, I think he'd do much better, but I don't think he'd win leagues. I don't. I think I feel like the best managers, Pep Guardiola, like Carragher said on Sky, he couldn't win the Champions League. He couldn't do it. So he changed the way he defended, and that's what got him over the line. I feel like there's the relentless nature in the way Postecoglou plays. I think there's always going to be fragilities. There's always going to be, and he himself, we just score more than the opposition and we win the games. But it's not it's not a perfect world. Like that doesn't always happen. You have to protect your goal, like you do. And that's not me being like, oh, he's fucking. Yeah. I just little tweaks. I don't want to change your philosophy. I love your philosophy. I love it, and I'm all in for it. It's just little tweaks because you can't get behind a manager that just completely ignores or seems to ignore. I don't think he does it, but I think the evidence sort of suggests that he ignores the certain fragilities that there could be little tweaks, like a proper double pivot, for example, or a fullback holding back, or I mean, Man City, we lost that game. It was weird circumstances. I'm talking about last season. It was the best game of my under Postecoglou for me because he showed a little bit. He showed that adaptation. We looked a lot better. He put Dragoon in between Van der Ven and Romero. Van der Ven was playing left back. He just played like a traditional left back almost, but held back a little bit. So we played a triangle in midfield. Saar as a false nine. It was brilliant, and if the fans were behind us that day because of the circumstances, we would have won. And that was like, oh, maybe he has, but he's forgotten that. I don't know why he hasn't done that since.
Did you think we looked a little bit more the other day against Wolves? Did you think with that more of a? I'd say more of a. I know Bentancur was kind of getting forward a little bit more than Bissouma, but what did you think of the Bissouma-Bentancur partnership in midfield? Do you think that is having two? I think the Bentancur. I think the thing for me with Bentancur, and I think I saw Seb say this. Like, I do think there's an element that Bentancur gives us a bit more rhythm, and I think it helps us going forward. Yeah, and he's a bit more snappy into everything. Like even in, I know he got fucking stupidly booked right at the end of the game. It was a ridiculous tackle.
Yeah,
but like I think he gives us a bit of bite that I think sometimes we lack with Bissouma. But then again, there's elements of Bissouma's. But that's actually why I think as a partnership, they actually complement each other quite well. I think.
Yeah, I feel like they're both. I think they're both number 8s playing together, and I still don't think the balance is quite right. I think both of them would look outstanding next to a destroyer number 6 or Cardoso or someone like that. I think because they both can wriggle out of pressure, keep the rhythm going. I think Bentancur is better than Bissouma, and also I think I know he gets a lot of bookings, but I feel like he keeps his head a little bit more than Bissouma. I think Bissouma, like if he's playing well, the team plays well, but it's inconsistent.
It's his. I think you're right. Like Bentancur will pick up a stupid booking or something, but his decision making isn't as rash. I know that kind of contradicts what I just said, but like in terms of little moments in games where it's like I don't know, like he's caught. It's weird because sometimes you watch Bissouma and think, my God, he's the most press-proof midfielder I think I've ever seen in my life. But then it's like, also then it's just like, you have watched some other games and think, what the fuck are you doing? Whereas Bentancur, I think he's more, I guess what I'm trying to say is he's more consistent.
Do you know what? And do you know what I think that is? I think we poached them off. We poached them off Juventus and we brought Bissouma off of Brighton. And I think it's like that level of standards Bentancur kind of gives you. And I feel like he'll drop like maybe a bit of an underwhelming game every 10 games or something, or he'll get booked as a bit frustrating. But again, I mean, Bissouma, I've checked out of Bissouma personally.
Yeah, I have as well.
I think if I'm going to say one of them, it would be Bissouma because I think Bentancur for build up, for keeping it ticking, he'd be brilliant next to a number like a destroyer number 6. He would, and I think that would work as a double pivot with maybe Kulusevski, Roman in front of him, and it's like that. You can see that. But Bissouma always, I feel like he could be a weak link. It's the potential of he could be outstanding. He could be the best player on the pitch, but he also could be a weak link. You never know with Bissouma. He like epitomizes Ange at the moment with Spurs. We could be amazing. We could be shit.
Yeah, I've said this so many times.
He plays at the spine of that.
Bissouma is and you can't have that because you go through that team. I've said this so many times. The spine of the team, aside from the defensive midfield position, it's actually really strong. It's really strong. Solanke, again, I thought Solanke was incredible, I thought, the other day. But then again, I'm just worried that he's one. I'm sick of saying it, but like, bloke's one game away from an injury, and Kulusevski.
Same with Kulusevski. And what do we do then? Because them two, what will we do without them two? And it's coming, and that's why I feel like it's hindering us, and it will constantly hinder us. The way we play, we will have these injuries. So we need players at the same level of Solanke and Kulusevski in every position. And I know that's like, well, obviously that's what we should be striving for. This is what the best teams do, but we don't have that right now, and this is detrimental to the players we have at the moment. We're overusing them, we're overdoing it, And again, we don't have the option. We don't have the depth. And actually, every time he plays them again, it's probably a message to the board at Postecoglou of, look, what you're making me do. These players can't do it. And
but he's also got. But it might be a message, but he's also got no choice.
Management.
He's also got no choice.
I know. Really? Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true. But then this is like
you've
playing
got Madison
career mode.
Yeah, this is also this is a position where I'll question Ange about like the use of the squad. You've got Madison there. Like Kulusevski. The thing is, I just think Kulusevski is. It's so difficult, right? Because I've spoken in a few. And this is why, like, I've spoken in a few TikToks about like on my channel where I kind of talk about everything in football. I've made a few videos about Saka and like the injuries that he's got, and there is a chance that Saka could be out until like March with the injury that he's got. If he's had hamstring surgery, he's not coming back for at least another couple of months, and he's 23. Is he 23? Yeah, 23. He's played 250 games for Arsenal. He's played like 23,000 minutes in his professional career, which is basically what Hazard had done by the same point. And when you think about the fact that Saka is playing in a more intense league than Hazard maybe was in France, even though before he came to Chelsea, he was still getting kicked all over the place because he was that good.
Yeah.
But in terms of physical intensity, the Premier League is a step up. And I think it's just kept going like that, as you kind of alluded to earlier when you talk about Ange. And that's why you have to adapt and have to manage your squad better. It's really difficult because I understand totally why Arsenal fans are really frustrated about the fact that Mikel Arteta has overused Saka. And partly the frustration is there with Arteta, but also the frustration is there with the board because they've not brought in someone that they can regularly use to take minutes off Saka, right?
Yeah.
But then again, by the same token, sometimes these players just become too important. Yeah. And I think Kulusevski is that kind of player where it's like, and Solanke as well. I just don't trust. Like, say if you're going to get fully fit Richarlison, right? Which, I mean, I just saw a pig fly out the fucking window. There's no chance of that happening. So I think getting a strike, because people might look at January and might think of, well, we got Will Lancashire there. And so I really like Will Lancashire, but I don't think you could ask him to do that job every week if Solanke was injured, because he's a 19-year-old kid coming up against a 27-year-old striker in his prime who knows exactly what the manager wants him to do and has got pedigree and has got track record of doing it. That, for me, is why Spurs need to go out and sign another striker in January and just try and get rid of Richarlison, because if your system relies so much on physical intensity and pressing, etc., although Richarlison has shown that he can be good for us, you can't have players that you can't rely on. The harsh reality of that as well is that then you look at someone like Van de Ven and think, this is going to be a continual issue. And I'm not saying for a second we should get rid of him, because fuck me, definitely not. This guy is a gem of a defender. And I think that you still get more out of him when he's fit than Richarlison, who is more inconsistent regardless of the fitness situation, right? But yeah, I don't know. This is also where it does come back to Ange. I think about that management, that squad. With there are certain players where he has no choice. There are certain positions and players where he has no choice. And I do think, despite the fact that I think people got frustrated with his comments about Alfie Dorrington, I think you said it right earlier. I think chucking another 19-year-old into that situation when you've got an 18-year-old playing out of position anyway ain't going to do anybody any favours. And it always becomes a situation where, like, the players that aren't playing suddenly become better than the players that are playing because fans are frustrated about where we're going. Same with like Reguilon. Yeah. The amount of people that I kept saying Reguilon's better than Udogie. Reguilon was better for Spurs in that season, that first year, than Udogie's ever been. I was like, that is utter bollocks. And it's bollocks. Yeah. It's just because Udogie's had an underwhelming season in a second season in the Premier League where he's been hampered by injury and had a massive surgery towards the end of last season. And now he's fucking injured again. We can't play Reguilon. We can't. Look, it's inexcusable to end that second half with a left-hand side of Werner and Reguilon in 2024 going into 2025. It's unacceptable. And that is on the club. That's not on the manager. Yeah. I know people will say that he wanted to keep Werner. But you look at the amount of people in the queue that were ahead of Werner even to play on that left wing before Werner could even be considered. It's Odebear. It's even Johnson, I think he'd start there over Werner if he didn't have such limited options on the other flank. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's
I feel like, I mean, look, we burnt out 1/3 into the season. It's now halfway through the season. We're already begging for the fucking season to end, and I think the players are. But it's like when you're playing on FIFA and you're playing all out press. Yeah, this is a stupid example, but it's kind of like kind of true. You play all out press, and then you look at like 50 at half time, and all your players are in the red bar about to fucking pull up with an injury.
You need second win straight on pro clubs.
Yeah. But then you just carry on playing it, and then all your players start fucking hobbling about and getting injured. And I feel like that's what Postecoglou's had this whole time. He's had players looking like they were gonna pull up. Players were pulling up from the beginning of the season, and we've just kept on doing it. And again, I feel like he's begging for some reinforcements. We're gonna get onto January. But I think if you're looking at next year, say if in an ideal world we were in the Champions League, which is, we can all laugh right now. I mean, you're going to be playing your strongest squad, hopefully in the Champions League every single. Playing 3 times a week is a demand of a top club, and I don't know if we could. I think injuries will always hinder us, and I think Van der Ven, he's obviously getting injured all the time, popping his hamstrings every 6 months because of the. I mean, we rely on him so heavily. He's a cheat code because he could just cover so much ground, but that constant sprinting is inevitable. So and also you can't then Van der Ven's a unicorn. You can't be like, we'll just get this player in and he'll do the exact same job. He's a unicorn, and we have to wrap him in cotton wool because he's so fucking important. And we're gonna take years of his career. And there could be a point where he's had so many hamstring injuries, he don't trust his body anymore, and then you've ruined his best trait. Which you rely on, and then where do we go? I'm getting to the point where I'm tired of standing up for Ange. And I know he takes full accountability, but he says that every interview, and nothing really changes. I don't think he will change, and I've got to the point where I wouldn't care whatever happens. I wouldn't care anymore. I'd be so disappointed we've gone for another manager, but at the point I'm worried about that contingency plan of the team is I don't know. But can I with the go on,
I was just going to quickly say I think that I probably agree with you, and I think that the thing is I think I probably have a little bit more faith in Ange, but then again, is that just because it's like I think we're scared of what the next decision is. That's what it is for me. Like I think,
because there's no,
and that's not to say that like that's not to say that that's the only reason I wouldn't sack him. I wouldn't sack him because one, I still hold out hope that I think it could work, and I think any manager would struggle with the resources that he's got, regardless of the style of play, right? But I think there's also an element of it where, as a club, as a fan base, all the pressure's on Levy, and that pressure's kind of been alleviated from Ange, even if maybe people don't think he's the guy, because we're scared and worried about the decision making because they can't follow up. Like people, do you see that thing about the Turkey, the Besiktas president saying about Edin Terzic?
Oh my god, yeah, fuck me. But then I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs fucking did that because we're so bad at making decisions. That's that fear factor you're talking about. It's like I don't trust these to make the next decision.
No, and how can you go? We've gone through our little win now phase, right? And I'm not saying Edin Terzic is that manager. It would make it would make any sense to go from hiring a coach in Postecoglou who was so night and day to what we had with Conte and Mourinho, to then go back to a pragmatic coach who plays shit football. It can't happen. Spurs, if they're going to sack Postecoglou, they need to be so clear on what that next manager is going to be. And it can't just be a manager who is available that will come and take the job. It has to be someone that has front-footed attacking principles. It absolutely has to be, because you're just pulling these players from pillar to post of like, this is what we are. And it also reeks of terrible lack of identity from a club's perspective that we have lost and we've been chasing so desperately after what we had under Poch. So you can't drag all the players everywhere from pillar to... All right, a lot of Postecoglou's players, he's got a lot of his own players now. But this is also the benefit of kind of buying young players, is that, all right, you can kind of mould them in the way that you want. But if we do change the coach, they're more easily malleable, maybe, but also like it's very good for the development of the likes of Gray, Bergvall, Moore, etc., Odebear, whoever the young players are, that we play front-footed attacking football. That is good for us, and that's why the next coach that has to be that. And then like we said it a few months ago, right? Or said it about a month ago. If you said to me now, who would you want realistically as your next coach? I'd say Iraola from Bournemouth. I think I would because I think
I was going to say the same.
I think there's a lot, and we said this jokingly about the way that he looks and stuff, but I think there is a real good blend of. It's kind of like Poch. I think he's got that real blend of pragmatism, but with a predominant focus on attack. And I think that's a nice transition. I really do think that.
Yeah.
But then again, after the club has made shit decision after shit decision after shit decision, what manager is going to want to leave their club, a stable club in Bournemouth, who are 7th in the league,
better than us at the moment,
6 points above Tottenham, 2nd in the XG table. He's been backed with good signings. In what world does that happen? We're Tottenham, and it's a step up, but I don't see that happening, which makes me so scared about who the next guy's going to be. So that's why, and maybe that's naive, and people can say it how they want, but that's why I'm clinging on to the Postecoglou coattails until the last minute, because it's just like I don't know what they're going to do, and I'm so scared about that next move.
Yeah, he would be my number one by a country mile, because I feel like a lot of our recruitment as well has been focused on pressing players that can press, and he's so good at pressing, and he's so direct. When they get the ball, they're so direct, and it would suit a lot of players. I feel like it suits players like Son as well, players like I don't know. I just think that's the match made in heaven. That's exactly why Spurs won't do it. So because we can't trust the board with making correct and like correct decisions, but when it comes to the transfer window, we're in a kind of a good position because we know our reactionary levy is as an owner. We have to go big and help Postecoglou. We failed to back him and we left him stranded in the summer. We now have to give him the chance that he didn't, or the backing that he didn't get in the summer, because I feel like this benefits everyone. Because if he gets some good players in, plus with the reinforcements of players coming back in February, and results don't change, then it's more clear that he's not the manager to take us to that next step. Maybe he was that player that maybe he is that manager that comes in, revitalizes our attacking football, and then the next manager finds that sweet spot in the middle. But I feel like we're in a good position where he could be back. I don't know. I think we have no trust in the board to do this, but you get in you get in a defender, you get a goalkeeper, and you go and get that attacker that could change that could be a game changer for us this season. So I feel like we're in a good position. It's because he's so reactionary, Levy, that he kind of has to. He's kind of been backed into a corner where he has to back Ange right now. And then also it will be kind of good. It's good. It's almost something to fall back on as well, because he could then, if it comes to like justifying why he's sacking Ange at the end of the season or something like that, he can then say, look, we backed him in January, results didn't get better, and we couldn't see a way forward with him. And then I think it would be a little bit of it wouldn't be as hard of a blow for Spurs fans. And also, if we do get some good signings in now, it might be more of an appealing job for the next manager in the summer if there is a new manager change. Like we've signed some promising players again in January, and it kind of manipulates the decision of a manager and for the appeal of the club. But where I am right now is you have to give Ange the season. If we keep losing, so be it. I think it could be the case if it has to get worse before it gets better. But I think there's so many traits and themes that I can't see us fixing under Postecoglou, like the injuries, because of the way we play, and also how heavily reliant he is on players like Van der Ven, who are unicorns. You can't really replace them in the market, and I just and a lot of the fragilities aren't in our and defensive foundations. It's just not being fixed or tweaked or anything like that. But he needs to be backed in January. I'm adamant of that, and I want to see it. So,
yeah,
Paul O'Keefe's come out and said we're looking at four positions for January. He also said in the last word of Spurs last night that the striker position is he thinks might be a bit of a red herring. What I'm thinking is we're going to sign a player that I mean, he said versatility is going to be looked at. Yeah. I think we're going to sign 3 players, hopefully, in an ideal world, but a backup goalkeeper. We're linked with Michael. What's his name? Let me find it. Michael Zetterer, who actually Man City wanted as the Edison replacement, but 29 from Werder Bremen. I don't know what he's like on his feet. Yeah. I watched the highlight reel of him this morning. And I was like, yeah, he's a good shot stopper. He actually looks like a young Fraser Forster.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Like the way he makes saves. I mean, he's not as big as Fraser Forster. But, I mean, we need a new goalkeeper, yeah. I think a hybrid between left back and centre back, I don't think fucking exists, to be honest. I think it's easy to say that because who the hell is like Van der Ven at centre back, a left sided centre back, but also can play the doggy role? Like that. Who is there that we can get on like a relatively cheap or maybe a loan with an obligation or a loan or a free agent? Like it's a Fugazi, mate. Like it don't exist. There isn't a player like that.
Calafiori gaslit everybody into thinking that this role actually sort of like exists.
Yeah, that's true. Actually.
To be able to do that,
no,
it doesn't really. And I think people look at like
it doesn't.
People look at like Hincapie and stuff like that. And even then, I'm not
sure.
He's
had a bit of an underwhelming season as well when he Hincapie, but also
they need to sign a centre back and a left back. I think that's the solution. They need to sign both. Like sign both.
Yeah. Just sign both. Stop trying to like makeshift and try and be smart. Just sign fucking both because you've seen how many injuries we get. Like, anyways, they're still going to have the opportunity. So that's frustrating. But with the winger / striker, I think that's going to be 2 in 1 as well. Like, I think we're going to look for players who have the versatility to cover the front 3 at the moment.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I think that could be a.
I think you can create a lot. There's a lot more room for versatility in an attacking sense in this system.
Yeah, 100%.
In a defensive sense, you need to sign like obviously in an ideal world, an attacking sense you do as well, but I think it's more imperative in a defensive sense that you sign the right players for the right position. Like, do you know what I mean? I think whereas attack, I think you can be a little. No, I think to be fair, I think that's the case for any system. I think there's always room for more versatility up the top of the pitch, and I think that is a trait that should be actually actively encouraged when you're looking at recruitment. But defensive wise, I'm not sure. I think they just need to go and sign a left back and a centre half. Like, I think sometimes it's that simple.
I know. I think one of them has to be in the summer because I can't see us signing 4 players in January. I just don't see it happening at all. But that sort of makeshift attacker, not makeshift, versatile attacker. I think Marmoush would be the ambitious signing of getting someone who's hot on everyone's like lips at the moment. Everyone's talking about him. That would be a bit of a statement, I think. Yeah. If we sign him and he can cover it, and I think he would fit the system, and also a contingency plan. Let's say Ange Postecoglou isn't the one. He's still a brilliant player to have as your squad, like going forward, and it's an appealing transfer all round. So, I think that would be a smart signing, but. I mean, I wouldn't be. I've been thinking. I'm going to say this. No one's going to believe me, but I was thinking this for a while, and then Invert the Wing said it like this morning. I checked, but someone like a Matthias Tell loan obligation or something like that, I would be like, I'd be interested in because I know he's 18, but it's the same thing. If you're signing an out of favour player who has incredible potential from a really, really good team. And it's that standard thing of like Kulusevski comes in and he sets that mentality standard. Tell could be the similar thing of like being that Son, exchanging with Son, also can play up front, exchange with Solanke, so you get that game time that he's craving. Yeah. But he can grow with this team and carry that mentality over. I feel like that's the way we're going to change DNA. Like signings like that, you're carrying a top mentality over and that standards over to the team. And we're going to have, but I don't know whether he'll come Spurs, and I don't know whether I'll kind of want a more established player first, like a Marmoush or someone like that, because I feel like Marmoush would be like 45 mil, maybe like 15 mil at the most for that Werner Bremen goalie, and then you're looking for maybe a loan obligation or something like that or you could loan obligation with Tell and it saves you a bit of funds for the now. I think that's what we're going to do. I've got a feeling we're going to sign a player that's versatile in attack. Sign a backup goalie that's a bit more unheard of, but could do it. Like, is a competent goalkeeper, and that defender. I'm struggling to think. We're linked with that Kasanov or something from Lens.
Kushinov.
He looks Kushinov. He looks really good. He does look promising, but again, he's 20 years old. How many young players have been? I do want that bit of experience. I do want, but then again, these players don't exist. I'm talking out my arse here because who is there? Who is there that can do that?
Nah.
Itakura's a bit of experience, but is he the level we want?
Yeah. What do you make of the Grealish rumours?
Well, Paula keeps sort of shut it down. I can't see it happening. I don't know why City would sell him unless they got players in for him. But also, it's so much. I don't want a loan that. I mean, I'd love to have Grealish just to say he played for Spurs because he's like a Spurs player that never played for Spurs. But I want a contingency plan here. I don't want a 6-month loan where we're not going to sign him because his wages are astronomical. What about you?
I think
I have to go in a sec. Actually,
that's right, mate. I don't mind it. I don't. I think it's another player that could take minutes off Kulusevski potentially. Can play in one of those number 10 roles, play a little bit deeper as well, and play out on the wing. Gives us a different sort of option that we don't have, especially the fact that we're going to have bear out until probably like March, April, and you
cut out.
You never know if then you're going to get a very good player. It's just
there you go. You're back.
Yeah. If you can, I don't know. Like the versatility is a plus. I think that bit of experience is a plus. I think we're lacking that. That real quality. I know he hasn't scored a goal this year, but like I still think he's a very good player. I think he's a very, very good player, and I think he's almost become a little bit underrated because he's had such a difficult time over the last year. And again, he's struggled with injuries as well. And but then again, do we want to be the club that then like resurrects a chance to these players? But I think Grealish is a different kind of situation to someone like a Werner, where it's like, Grealish is also he's done it in the Premier League. He's been part of title-winning sides. Regardless of whether you think that he was less exciting at Man City than he was at Aston Villa, there's still real quality and application when being asked to do a specific job. And I think with obviously the kind of in-depth tactical instructions, so to speak, of what all demands that Postecoglou would kind of put on a player like that, I think he's very easily adaptable to what Ange would want him to do. He's a very good ball carrier. From deep, but doesn't really give the ball away. And I think we lack that retention in the final third a lot, especially when he goes out to the wide areas with Johnson and Son. So I think he gives you a different profile sort of there. I don't think it's going to, a lot of people say, well, it's going to stunt the development of like Moore and Odegaard and stuff like that. I disagree with that. If it's on like a 6-month loan kind of thing, I think it'd be a really good move for him as well, because I think he goes somewhere where there'd be a lot of like love towards him, because he kind of has that feeling of like being I know people will laugh at that, but like where it nearly happened and stuff. But I don't know. I wouldn't. If it happened, I'd be happy. But I would. Because also, I think from a kind of purely like dopamine perspective, it's like, well,
100%. I do see that.
But there are smarter signings to make, I think, than that. But I would be happy with it. I definitely would be happy with it.
I think Chelsea proved that January you can really capitalise on January. Like signing, I know he's only just really sort of come good, but like Enzo Fernandez, etc. Obviously, we're not spending more than 50 mil on a player. That's just not ever going to happen. But I feel like there's that plan, that contingency plan. You kind of have to put it in place in January now as well. Especially right now, we've got such a young team. We need reinforcements. We got so injury hit. We can't just have like makeshift players. We tried that with Werner, it didn't work. So I think it would be frustrating if we do that. But Grealish is like a bit of an anomaly because. It's Grealish, that romance to it, that we almost had him and now we get to see him in a kit. That would be cool, but I don't know. And I don't see it happening because of his wages unless City pay the majority. But again, I don't see City doing that right now because they're in such a shit position. Ben, I've got to go. I've got football in 10 minutes. And I'm about to piss I'm about to piss myself. Everyone, thanks so much. Get in the comments about like join the debate, because we're talking. I think it's the first time we've really gone in on Ange. I think, like, again, I'm not Ange out. I'm just numb. I don't care anymore. And because I don't want to react off of just one game. And again, there's been a couple of games. I don't want to be like, oh, we've lost another game. Fucking get him out. Like, I don't see it getting better. So I see this season as a write-off in its own. And there's still a lot to play for. But Newcastle coming up, Liverpool in the Cup, Tamsworth in the FA Cup, and then Arsenal away. I mean, it's just this fucking terrible. But this January reinforcements, it has to happen, and I think he deserves it. So that's like where I feel on it. And then at the end, we come and we evaluate, because I think you need a bit more to this picture before you make not knee-jerk reactions, but we can't trust the board unless it's fully justified what they do. Like, we can't trust them to make a decision. And I think if nothing gets better during now to the end of the season, then it's justifiable to let him go. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much. Have a lovely New Year. I think this may be coming out on New Year's Day.
Happy New Year.
I've got to go straight to work and stuff. But Happy New Year. And it's going to be a really exciting year for Daring and Doing, if not for Spurs, if it's not for Spurs. But January is to look forward to. Obviously, with the transfer market, it's going to be a lot of content coming out. Everyone, have a lovely time with friends and family. Up the Spurs, and thank you for this incredible first year.
Nice one. All the best.